Got to talk to both coordinators today, both defensive coordinator Wink Martindale and a new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Chip Lindsey. A lot more to glean from Lindsay, given that that's, we've heard him on podcasts and things like that, but really our first time to get to know him a little bit, know what he's all about, discuss the quarterback room, and a lot of, he went through everything, whether it was the offensive line, getting the backs involved in the passing game, the wide receiver, tight end situations, all of it. I want to get your first impressions, fellas, on Chip Lindsey after getting to know him a little bit today.
I love the way he communicates, right? Number one. Number two, he didn't say a whole, he talked a lot without saying a whole lot. And that's to be expected because spring ball hasn't started yet. I would really love to get these guys after 2 weeks to find out, okay, who's standing out at left tackle. I asked him about the tackle spot. He's like, well, Andrew Sprague's going to stay on the right side, and left side, we'll see what happens. And he mentioned Andrew Babalola as a possibility down the road, but he's young. And generally, it's usually guys that have been here for a while. So it sure seems to me like they're going into spring ball with Evan Link at left tackle. Deductive reasoning, right? Which scares me a little bit. But as John Jansen, who we ran into at Schembeckler Hall, said, you know what? He played better on the left side and against Alabama than he played on the right side all year. So maybe, that was a good move for him. I want to see him on the interior. And that's another thing that Lindsay said was, we'll see who's better where. He also did say that they will tailor their offense to their strengths and weaknesses, which means, if you've got a weak link at left tackle, then there are ways that you're going to have to develop your offense to protect your quarterback. And he also mentioned the portal. I asked him about the portal, and he said, we found spring portal at North Carolina wasn't as stacked with players as we thought it would be. Now, Michigan's had some success getting guys in the spring portal that have come in and played huge roles. So I still think that they're going to look for an offensive lineman and at least another receiver. I'm almost positive of that. But he said, let's develop the guys we have here and go from there. So thought he said some really nice things about Bryce Underwood and Mikey Keene. That's going to be a quarterback battle. I like the fact that Mikey Keene came here and he didn't care that Bryce Underwood was going to be here. He said Justice Haynes looks like an absolute man-child. So like that, I think that he's going to have success here. So what's up?
Say that.
No, he didn't say that, but I'm just paraphrasing. So he said he looked like an absolute beast, is what he said. He didn't say that either.
No.
But he said he looked really, really ripped or something like that. But regardless, he said he looked damn good.
Were you there?
I was kind of, but damn it, I was driving until midnight last night. So, however, he said he looked really good. So I like him. I like what he brings to the table, and it was fun to listen to those guys. Wink Martindale said a lot of the same stuff when we asked him questions. We'll have to see in the spring. We'll have to see what happens, and so on and so forth. So, in short, there was a lot of talking, but I didn't think a whole lot of information gleaned.
Yeah, that's like you said. They haven't even practiced yet, and that's kind of what spring ball is all about. Is like it's almost a period of asking questions, right? Can this guy handle this? What's this guy looking like now after another winter working out in the strength and conditioning program and all that sort of stuff. But I think, and also no offense to Chip Lindsey, but he's there's been every coordinator in the country has said at one point they're going to tailor their system to the personnel too. So like all this is preliminary, and it'll be interesting to see. Not that we're going to get to see a ton of what the scheme's going to look like in the spring game, but you'll kind of just see how things are coming together once we actually get a glimpse of these guys on the field, and then we can sift through the coach speak and actually make our own observations. But yeah, I think that the quarterback stuff with Mikey Keene was one of the more interesting things to me, and it reminded me exactly of Jack Tuttle's mentality when he came in. Tuttle came here when Michigan had a returning starting quarterback that ended up entering November the next year as the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Like he knew that unless J.J. McCarthy got hurt, which, he had dealt with an injury the year before, he wasn't going to be the starter, but he wanted to win a national championship, and he wanted to coach. And Chip Lindsey said that Mikey Keene wants to coach one day, and he didn't even really ask about Bryce Underwood and what the competition would look like. He's willing to come in, compete, bring his experience. He's played in 39 games. He started 34 of them. He's thrown for over 8,000 yards. They needed a guy, as Chip Lindsey said today, with experience at the college level, especially considering that Davis Warren, who we saw today here in Ann Arbor, was walking around pretty well. But considering he's going to be out for a while after tearing his ACL in the bowl game on a play that he shouldn't have left the pocket on. So, but I was encouraged by that, and just the fact that you feel like that quarterback room is going to remain pretty connected no matter what they decide. And also significant, and I'm sure you were going to get to it, Anthony, that he thinks it's unlikely that they name a starter coming out of spring too, which isn't surprising. I don't think many coaches with the transfer portal era are going to name a starter out of the spring. But especially with this one, right? Why why make a decision this early? Like he said, we want to make sure we're right. And you also want to just, hey, let Bryce Underwood ease himself in. They're going to throw a lot at him right away, but try to take as much pressure off of him as you can, and understand that, by the time August 30th, I believe it is, rolls around, then that's when he's got to be ready. He doesn't have to be ready on June 1, when summer workouts start or whatever it is. He's got to be ready at the end of August if he's going to be the starter. So it's going to be interesting. You hear great things about Underwood and the mentality he has, the way he's working, which is encouraging as well.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff that we've heard, because Chip Lindsey has been on podcasts. Sharon Moore has been on podcasts. Bryce Underwood has been on with Rich Eisen. Yeah, it's not a shot at our colleagues or anything like that, but I feel like when the question about are you going to name a starting quarterback this spring, when stuff like that comes up, they're just trying to get the quote as opposed to actually wondering if that's the case. Because obviously, when you have a true freshman that comes in, even with the investment that they've made, he still never played a down of college football. Mikey Keene has never played a down of power conference football. Both those guys weren't here last year. So split out the reps, let them go out there and compete. Clayton, you made the point, spring ball is a lot like you're setting a pecking order and almost maybe like setting up questions to answer for fall camp. This is all reps. This is all setting that pecking order, getting an idea, and really that this is pretty consequential for a lot of guys too. They have to get this roster down to 105. I think right now they're projected at around 115, 116. I have to check my list, but there are guys on this roster going to spring ball that won't be, and there'll be guys that are on other rosters that might be here after spring ball. So good foundation set again. Not a whole lot to glean. The one thing I did like from Wink Martindale, and we had walked in a few minutes behind on this comment, but he said, do I tease Jesse Minter and Mike McDonald that I only gave up 10 points to Ohio State and they didn't? Of course I do. So the OG was in a regular OG form today.
He sure was, but he didn't say anything noteworthy, frankly. And I mean, I asked him about Zeke.
That's Berry. Our spring football preview. Everyone.
Exactly. I asked him if Zeke Berry would be staying at corner, and he said we'll play him where we need him. We asked him who was going to be playing at nickel. He said there are 6 guys. Wouldn't name them. He did give a nice comment to Shamari Earls, right? And so and said that he was going to be good. So at corner, but other than that, it's wait and see. So regardless, let's take some questions here and finish this thing up and go from there.
Yeah, and the big takeaway too that he kept coming back to, like the thing that seems to be on his mind heading into spring ball, having not seen a practice yet, is that he does believe at all positions this defense is going to be deeper than a year ago. He said we don't have any bona fide first round draft picks. Do we have some day 2 guys? Yeah. And he said that there could be some that end up emerging as first round picks, but I think that they're trying to bet on here that you're not going to have your Mason Grahams and Kenneth Grants and Will Johnsons, which is really hard to possess that type of talent, but maybe they're a little bit deeper and they won't have specific weaknesses as much as they maybe did a year ago, especially at the beginning of the season before some of those guys got experience, that you can make up for your lack of first round picks in depth, being able to rotate guys through, keep them fresh, find the right combinations, use, versatility, different players. So we'll see if it plays out. You hear this time of year a lot, especially in basketball. We got a deep team and all this, and you never know. But, you seem to trust that Wink Martindale's not BSing you on that. So that was also nice to hear.